We welcome Rabbi Doron Perez for his personal story. Rabbi, thank you very much for your time. Cannot imagine the range of emotions you are going through right now. Thank you for speaking to us. This extraordinary situation. Your one son, Daniel, is still missing 16 days into this war. Your other son, Jonathan, injured in the war and has gone ahead with his wedding. As I say, one cannot imagine the range of emotions. Let's start. How are you, and what news have you heard about Daniel? Take us back to what is known about his tank and his team. What can you tell us?
Thank you, Benita. Nice to see you, and thank you for the opportunity. As you correctly said, we know that his tank was involved in action in the Nahal Oz area, and sometime during the morning, he's a commander of his tank. Sometime during the morning, they lost contact with the tank, and only when the army came to see us on Thursday, a number of days later, was it confirmed. We had heard rumors, we had no contact. Was it confirmed that indeed he's considered missing in action, Ne'edar, the Hebrew word, as opposed to confirmed as taken captive or, God forbid, killed or anything like that? Because, as we know, there are various categories. As was just said in the previous interview just before, there are around 1,400 people who were brutally murdered, as you know, many thousands injured, and bodies are still being identified. So when they came to tell us that he's missing in action along with the members of his crew, in fact, one of the crew members was found dead in the tank and was buried, in fact, in the day of my son's, eldest son, Jonathan's wedding. But the other three were confirmed as missing in action. What missing in action means is that amongst the dead that Israel has, he's not amongst them. Amongst the wounded that Israel has, he's not amongst them. And amongst those which are confirmed to have been hijacked either through personal testimony or through eyewitness or camera footage or other technological means, they don't have anything more definitive than missing in action. And that's still the status at the moment.
Well, certainly our hearts are with you, and obviously everybody hoping for news and for good news as well. Talk to us about Jonathan. I understand he was visiting his fiancée, now his wife, and responded to a call also on that day. Talk to us about what he went through.
Yeah. So our oldest son, he was actually at our home in Yad Binyamin, which is in the center of Israel. His fiancée was actually with us for Shabbat. So both Jonathan and his fiancée on Shabbat of Simchat Torah, Shmini Atzeret in Israel, those 16 days ago, were both 15 days ago. They were both with us in our home in Yad Binyamin. And we were going into the air raid shelter just like everybody else in our area at the time. There were very, many missiles. And around 8 o'clock in the morning, we'd been in and out of the air raid shelter for about an hour and a half. He started getting all types of WhatsApps on a group of 120 officers. He's a company commander, known in Israel as in Hebrew as a Mempei, a company commander. Has 140 soldiers, which he commands, and the paratroopers. And there's about 120 officers he was in an officer's course with them a while ago. His phone started pinging nonstop, and we observed the Sabbath, so he didn't open it. But once this happened, he realized that something's going on, and he saw the initial images there of this mini trailer, this truck with these terrorists shooting at people, and nobody could. I don't think anyone in Israel could fathom or understand at that moment what this meant. Could it be that terrorists have got through the Gaza fence?
Unfathomable.
A bird can't fly through there without being detected. So even when they saw it, all these officers, they were all trying to work out what this was. Maybe it was, they couldn't work out what it was. But then his commanding officer, his brigade commander of his base, sent a message to all of the officers and said to them, about 30 or 40 officers, company commanders and deputy company commanders and platoon commanders, said to all of them, about 30 or 40 of them, whoever can come to Sderot should come to Sderot. And Jonathan left straight away. His fiancée and our family, in fact, didn't even have his M16 in him. He had left it in the base because it was a festival, and it was going to continue the festival and take his fiancée home.
Right.
Just by the way, his fiancée and her family live inside one of the kibbutzim down south, close to the border. So they are also at the moment, don't have a home, and they've all moved up north. In fact, Jonathan was going to live inside, but has to find alternative plans at the moment, like so many other Israelis. So he goes to Sderot, and with he just had a pistol, his pistol, and he took my other son's pistol, and he ended up going to Sderot to where his officer was, and they got this inorganic force together, and I think prepared them for it. A few special forces people,
right,
a few officers, and they got together. And basically, Benita, for the next 5 to 6 hours, they were involved in non-stop gun battles wherever they went, with RPGs shot at them, the Jeep in front of them on their way down to Nachal Oz. In fact, where my other son was stationed, he happened to be sent to the Kfar Aza, Saad, Nachal Oz area, and a Jeep in front of them was actually shot with an RPG, and 3 officers were killed. His Jeep was shot at with an RPG, which went over their heads. And they're involved in non-stop gun battles. In fact, when a friend of his was injured next to him, he took his gun because he didn't have a proper M16. He took his M16, he took his vest, he took a helmet from somebody from a special forces. And this is how these ad hoc, ongoing battles were taking place.
Unbelievable.
And unbelievable. And his story is only one of thousands of stories of civilians and soldiers who fought with incredible bravery to defend as much as they could the civilians and soldiers of the South. What eventually happened was they got a message that Nachal Oz base has been overrun. Nobody from the army has got there. They should go there. And they went as the first force into Nachal Oz base. It just so happened that my other son was positioned there for Shabbat. He noticed when he went into the base, in fact, he was one of the few, in fact, the only soldier of those 10 or 15 officers who knew the base, because he had visited my other son, Daniel, multiple times. Jonathan, our older son, had been stationed in that base.
Right.
And therefore, thankfully, he was quite familiar with the base, and that saved many lives, because firstly, when they went in through the tank shed, he noticed that he knew where our son Daniel's tank was parked because he had visited there many times, and he noticed that his and other tanks were not there. And that was comforting, hoping that he was involved in gun battles. And they spent the next approximately 2 hours in the base, securing an area. They saw, as they walked in, they saw a number of terrorists. Turned out there were about 12 terrorists still in the base. They thankfully, Benita, along the way, managed to save about 20, 25 soldiers, mainly chayalot, female soldiers, who these, observers that had been hiding. He knew the base and figured he knew where they would be hiding.
Right.
And they were able to literally, first they found 6 of them in one room and took them out, then 15 of them in another room, took them out. And then eventually, during one of the gun battles, towards the end, him and the 2 soldiers, the 2 officers on each side of him were shot. The one in the left was shot in the back. The one in the right was shot in the stomach, and he was shot in the leg. And I cannot tell you what a miracle it is.
Absolute
he's
miracle.
Thankfully alive. And also that it not only went through his leg, it missed the main artery, it missed all the, the nerves and the bone, because it took them hours and hours in this ad hoc situation,
right,
the Balagan, to get to Soroka Hospital in the south. As you know, one can bleed to death from these type of wounds, unfortunately. So basically, to cut a long story short, when we found out that Jonathan, thankfully, had, when we realized that, thank God, he was, recovering, he was okay. And a number of days later, when Daniel, we realized he's missing in action and it's going to be a while till the status changes, we decided, firstly, our son and daughter-in-law now, we said, both us and her family from Kibbutz Saad, said we will support them in whatever they want to do, even though he has a brother missing in action and we have a son missing in action. We feel that if they would like to get married, it's such a positive thing to do. We'll support them in it. Otherwise, he's going to go back to the army at some point. Who knows how long this is going to go on for. And on Thursday afternoon, they took the decision to get married at the original time, but this not in Ashkelon in the hall because it was too big. It happened in our backyard, not in the yeshiva high school in our area. And it was very, very limited. It was on live stream, and thankfully, people participated. It was, somebody said to me, Benita, that at the chuppah that she was at the wedding canopy, she said that for her, it was the holiest, saddest, happiest wedding she was ever at. And it was a very special occasion.
We thank you so much, Rabbi, for sharing this ordeal, and the fact that you have managed to find this experience of happiness amidst all this pain is something that really is awe-inspiring. Thank you for your positivity and your message of hope. Very briefly, we have just a few seconds. Your brief message right now for a nation traumatized. Very briefly, please.
In one sentence, the Jewish people, more than any other people, are a life-affirming people. Almost no value is greater than the value of human life. And the enemy we face is a enemy committed to death. It's an enemy which praises death, will kill and torture not only their enemy, but also their own, not allow them to flee, will use them as human shields. And ultimately, just like this wedding and so many other weddings which have taken place, gives hope, because the Jewish people are traders of hope, believers of hope, because we believe in life, and a better future. Ultimately, those who love life will prevail over those who praise death.
Rabbi Doron Perez, thank you for speaking to us. May you hear good news about Daniel soon, and best wishes to the newlyweds. Thank you very much for speaking to us.
Thank you very much.